Welcome into WagerTalk TV. I am Drew Martin, joined by Kevin Dolan and Brian Leonard of WagerTalk.com. We're talking Big Ten Saturday action here. The Nebraska Cornhuskers hosting the Ohio State Buckeyes. We're seeing Ohio State, Kevin, minus 15-point road favorite, 64 being the total in the horseshoe. You liking anything here? Buckeyes and Cornhuskers on Saturday, Kevin.
Yeah, Drew, I was initially drawn to Nebraska actually in this one, catching double digits, but I'm just not sure we're getting enough points overall to, make the risk worthwhile. Saying that though, I have been semi-impressed with Nebraska this season. 1-5 in conference play this year on the surface doesn't seem that good, but I don't believe that tells the full picture of this team. They've effectively played tough against everyone this year. One score loss against Oklahoma back in week 4. One score loss against Michigan also, one score loss against Purdue and Minnesota. And they took a very good Michigan State Spartans team to overtime a few weeks ago as well. So this team definitely have the potential, to play spoiler here on Saturday. But as we mentioned last week when we talked about the Buckeyes, it's just the fact of where Ohio State's sitting in the rankings right now for me, that's given me a little bit pause for thought. Ohio State are firmly on the outside looking in right now in terms of the national AP poll picture, coaches poll, and so on. And they've actually dropped a place in the AP poll to 6th now since last week based off of Michigan State's win over the Wolverines. So, we could well see a fired-up Buckeyes team here on Saturday, looking to get some respect in their name. They obviously are one of the best teams in the country and, show everyone why they are a legitimate playoff contender this year. And, this could well end up being a blowout statement game for Ohio State as a result. I think, obviously, this is a big number. So I'm not sure I can fully get to the window with Ohio State laying this kind of number here in this spot. But, I do nevertheless expect Ohio State to put up a ton of points offensively in this one on Saturday. So I actually prefer the Ohio State team total over 41.5 here instead of taking either a straight side or total in this one. For me in this one, Ohio State team total over 41.5 for me, as I do expect the Buckeyes to come out with something of a point to prove here. And I think over 41.5 is a very doable number.
Absolutely. Could see that happening, Kevin. And Brian, coming to you next, the Buckeyes looking to run it up on their opponents, but who knows, maybe the fighting Scott Frost can keep it within nearly 2 touchdowns here, Brian. What do you like in Ohio?
Yeah, I'm not so sure this is a game in which they're looking to run up the score. They're just trying to get as many wins as possible. If you're worried about the rankings, the last 2 weeks when they play Michigan State and Michigan, if they win those 2 games, they won't have to worry about the rankings. That'll put them in the top 4. I am a little bit concerned that Ohio State may be a little bit overrated at this point. You take a look at the defense the last 5 weeks. They've allowed 3.1, 4.9, 4.5, 2.4, and 4.9 points, yards per play. Until you take a look at the teams that they played: Akron, Rutgers, Maryland, Indiana, and Penn State. This Nebraska offense is probably the best offense they've played since back early in the season when they were taking on the Tulsas, the Oregons, and the Minnesotas. So Nebraska on the season has only allowed 23 points in the first quarter. That's the way I'm going to take a look at this game. Now, Ohio State had a bye after Maryland, so they played 2 games since then. The game that they had circled was last week against Penn State. That was a big game for them, and they survived that game. They weren't overtly impressive against Penn State in that game. They survived and move on, and really that's what they have to do. But Nebraska's had a bye right before last week's game against Purdue. They play Ohio State here, then they get another bye. So from a scheduling standpoint, they can go all out this game. They don't have to play next week, whereas Ohio State has to take on Purdue, a pretty good team who's already knocked off one of the better teams in this conference. Then Nebraska finishes the season with a couple of heavyweight physical teams in Wisconsin and Iowa. So I like Nebraska here. I think the line's a little bit too high based on the bad offenses Ohio State has played as of late. But I like Nebraska earlier in the game. Give me Nebraska in the first quarter, catching 3.5, something in that range. And I think they'll come out of here playing at home, coming off of 3 straight losses. This is a huge game for them, especially with the bye on deck. Give me Nebraska plus the short number in the first. And then obviously Ohio State's talent will probably win out in the end. But I think we might have a little advantage in the first quarter of this game.
Sure, a little first quarter action on the Cornhuskers there from Brian Leonard. Check out Brian at WagerTalk as well as Kevin. And guys, also make sure to check out the live odds screen. If we're talking here near 2 touchdowns, -15, that's Ohio State. You can check the most up-to-date live odds in the industry, free live odds at WagerTalk.com.